trust no one. This is the nastiest celebrity battle I've seen in a while. Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively are playing who's got the better lawyer, as these two have been throwing around lawsuits both wanting to share a side of their story about what happened on the set for It Ends With Us. Blake is accusing Justin Baldoni of serious misconduct, and his lawyers are saying this is just another desperate attempt at her trying to salvage her reputation.
Are you going to sue Blake Lively too?
Into oblivion, Megan. Wait till you see this lawsuit.
With both parties throwing out their version of what happened, it seems as if there is no going back now. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Scandalous Media. It's Alana here, and oh boy, have Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively given us things to talk about today. As we've previously mentioned, both Justin and Blake have been involved in lawsuits pointing the finger and blaming the other person based on the issues that arose during filming It Ends With Us. Blake's lawsuit hit first and hard with thousands of pages of text messages and emails which she obtained through a subpoena, which was later reviewed by The Times. The lawsuit accuses Justin of serious misconduct, alleging that his actions caused her both emotional and physical pain. It also claims that he and his team orchestrated a smear campaign against her. Blake's lawsuit painted Justin in a completely different light, which was so damaging his own agency dropped him. Multiple celebrities have come out in support of Blake, and the cast of It Ends With Us defended Blake, and he was stripped of an award he recently got. It seemed like it was going to be pretty bad for Justin, as people went from completely hating Blake to suddenly feeling bad for her.
But wait! There's more!
Justin's lawsuit followed after with the same amount of magnitude, suing The Times for $250 million for defamation and for teaming up with Blake, claiming that they cherry-picked evidence together to make him and his associates look bad. Justin's lawsuit is essentially saying that the New York Times worked with Blake to publish an article that did not consider all sides or the full truth. Justin is not the only person suing. He is followed alongside Jamie Heath, Wayfarer Studios, his publicist Melissa Nathan, and Jennifer Abel, along with other people mentioned in Blake's lawsuit. It gets nasty, and you know we are going to dive deep into it. In this video, we will give you guys Blake's side of the story. This is going to be a deep dive into what Blake's lawsuit states, what she is allegedly exposing about Justin and his associates. After that, we will post a video doing a deep dive into Justin's lawsuit, why he is suing the publication that ran Blake's story, what he believes actually happened on set, and how his lawyers have denied all claims Blake has made. The only thing I have to say is, this is a developing story, and there is going to be more that's coming out. I have to make this disclaimer because when I made my first ever video discussing the drama between the It Ends With Us cast, I got destroyed in the comment section for saying that I didn't fully trust Justin's side of the story and that there were two sides to the story, we just need to wait for more to come. People got so weirdly angry at me for shifting some focus on Justin rather than Blake, considering what some of the reports about him were saying. I think there is a lot of truth in both lawsuits, and I'm reading everything with an open mind as this is a developing story and more is to come. Before we get started, a good point to remember is that two truths can be right at the same time. Blake could be annoying and out of touch with reality while also being a victim at different points. Justin could be someone who dealt with a lot of stress being the director while also not having been as innocent either. While parts of Blake's lawsuit are looked at in a different light now that Justin's lawsuit is out there are some other crazy points of evidence that have yet to be debunked. Join me in watching from afar with an objective lens instead of sheepishly switching sides. Clearly a lot went on, and one thing that must be addressed is the parasocial relationships with celebrities that need to be evaluated. As people with access to social media, you have to be careful with engaging in a herd mentality because you can't jump from one point to another as a story progresses. So make sure to give this video a like and subscribe for more, tell us what you think in the comments below, and without further ado, let's get into the lawsuit. What does the lawsuit state? This issue between the cast and crew started within a few days of filming. Many of the cast and crew, including Blake, started to feel uncomfortable with Justin, who is the lead actor and producer and director of the movie, and his close friend, who is the CEO of Wayfarer Studios and also producer Jamie Heath. Remember Jamie because he's brought up in this almost as much as Justin. The lawsuit states that during this time, Justin and Jamie were acting unprofessionally. Justin was allegedly smudging people and putting sage around them, doing psychic readings for people's dead relatives, saying he could speak to the dead, and would talk to Blake about her father who passed in 2021, and so many other things that the lawsuit states. He and Jamie reportedly caused Blake severe emotional distress. Justin was entering Blake's trailer with Jamie at times unannounced and uninvited. Oftentimes, Blake would be getting dressed when Justin would randomly walk in. The lawsuit states that Justin and Jamie would show Blake nude videos and images of women against her will, discussing their alleged addiction to porn with her, discussing her dead father, and making inquiries about her weight. There was a lot of misconduct being reported and harassment that was discussed in the lawsuit. And his behavior wasn't only towards Blake, but it was also with other people. The lawsuit stated, additionally, early in the production, another actress made a complaint about Mr. Baldoni's comments on her appearance. Mr. Baldoni expressly acknowledged her concerns in writing, stating he would adjust accordingly. Yet on June 8, 2023, that actress informed Ms. Lively that outside of anything in a scene, I actually cannot talk to Justin at all. Mr. Baldoni later expressed suspicion regarding Ms. Lively's friendship with this actress as if they were colluding against him. Justin would randomly and spontaneously add scenes that weren't in the script, book, or approved by Blake. After Miss Lively signed on to the movie based on a draft of the script, Mr. Baldoni, without Miss Lively's knowledge or consent, personally added graphic content including a scene in which Miss Lively was to hold them on camera. When Miss Lively objected to these additions, Mr. Baldoni insisted that he'd added them because he was making the film through the female gaze. Although he agreed to remove the scenes, he made a last-ditch attempt to keep one in which the couple orgasmed together on their wedding. Another example states Mr. Baldoni and Miss Lively were filming a slow dance scene for a montage in which no sound was recorded. Mr. Baldoni chose to let the camera roll and have them perform the scene, but did not act in character as Ryle. Instead, he spoke to Miss Lively out of character as himself. At one point, he leaned forward and slowly dragged his lips from her ear and down her neck as he said, "It smells so good." The lawsuit states that what he was doing had nothing to do with their characters and was not in the script, especially since they were filming a montage with no sound, so he didn't need to say anything to her. When she objected to his behavior, his response was, "I'm not even attracted to you." The lawsuit goes into detail about the many times Justin made Blake feel uncomfortable, whether that was walking into her trailer while she was breastfeeding her baby, or pressuring her to take off her coat so that he could see her onesie that revealed her lace bra. Miss Lively wore a low-cut dress to facilitate breastfeeding, but had it covered with a coat. When the jacket briefly popped open at one point to reveal the dress, Mr. Baldoni commented about how much he liked her outfit, which flustered Miss Lively. Later that day, he said he wanted to see her onesie under the coat because it was zipped low to reveal her lace bra. Consistent with past practice, he said, "I think you look sexy," in a tone that made her feel ogled and exposed. With other female cast present, she said, "That's not what I'm going for." He bristled and replied, "I'm sorry, huh?" Deeply uncomfortable, Miss Lively said, "Not that either." Mr. Baldoni responded sarcastically, "I guess I missed the HR meeting," and then walked away, while another woman on the production offered Blake empathy and shared her own similar experiences with Justin, commenting about her in sexual terms. Commentary like that reinforces the idea that women should be grateful that they caught the attention of a man because he's simply complimenting them, but it often comes across as both insulting and objectifying because that's what it is. According to the lawsuit, Justin and Jamie often spoke about inappropriate and unprofessional topics with Blake. I can see the power imbalance here because they're going about it as if they're just trying to help the movie and the actors by forcing them to watch certain things while being amused that they can get away with doing that in the first place. During a car ride with Blake and Justin, Justin claimed to Blake that he had been essayed by a former girlfriend, and this is something he has shared publicly. At the end of the story, Justin tells Blake that it caused him to re-examine his past. He then said, "Did I always ask for consent? No. Did I always listen when they said no? No." And he used this as an example of how they can all learn to be better.
What did he just say? What the hell?
The lawsuit states that Blake was unsettled by Justin's suggestion that he engage in sexual conduct without consent. Blake's driver told Blake that he did not want her to be alone with Justin going forward. That's really sad to read and really weird. Justin recalled his experience in engaging in things without other people's consent as proof that everyone can learn and grow, but in the midst of talking about how great he is from learning and growing, he wasn't alarmed at the fact that he was essentially admitting to essaying other people, allegedly speaking. The lawsuit also mentions the many times Justin pressured Blake and put her in uncomfortable positions during the birth scene, which was described as chaotic, crowded, and utterly lacking in standard industry protections for filming nude scenes. That's not all, but Justin told Blake that she shouldn't be in a hospital gown while giving birth, and that his wife ripped off her clothes during labor, claiming that it was not normal for women to remain in a hospital gown during labor. Blake felt forced into a compromise and said that she would be naked from below the chest down. That's pretty bad, but it gets worse. Justin then introduced his best friend to play the role of the OB-GYN. The lawsuit states, ordinarily, a small role of this nature would be given to a local actor, and not the director's friend whose face and hands were very close to Blake's nearly nude genitalia, which she recalled as invasive and humiliating. While getting prepared for the birth scene, Jamie Heath approached Blake and her assistant and started playing a video of a fully nude woman with her legs spread apart. Blake thought he was showing her and stopped him, but then he clarified and told her that the woman in the video was his wife.
Oh.
Blake was alarmed and asked Jamie if his wife knew he was sharing this video, and he replied, "She isn't weird about this stuff," implying that Blake was the weird one for not welcoming his approach. The lawsuit then makes note of all the times Justin randomly improvised on physical intimacy that had not been rehearsed, choreographed, or discussed with Blake. There was also no intimacy coordinator involved. Justin would insist on reshooting the kissing scenes in which he improvised numerous kisses on each take. The lawsuit alleges that while Justin was going around treating Blake like a sex object, he was also crying to her about her age and weight. On the second day of filming, Mr. Baldoni made the rest of the cast and crew wait for hours while he cried in Miss Lively's dressing room, claiming social media commentators were saying that Miss Lively looked old and unattractive based on paparazzi photos from the set. Blake assured him that she would look authentic in the scenes despite the pictures that were taken, which were after her character had been abused by her fictional husband, and that she wasn't supposed to look hot. However, Justin was more focused on her sex appeal above all else, and his emotional outburst delayed shooting, forcing an emotional scene to be shot haphazardly. Justin not only engaged in inappropriate behavior, but also failed to disclose critical information to Blake, including matters relating to COVID. When there was a COVID outbreak on set, Blake was told by another producer that Wayfarer did not have insurance coverage for COVID. Both Justin and Jamie deliberately withheld from Blake that she had been exposed to COVID, which she and her infant child both contracted due to the outbreak on set. On top of that, Blake was not given proper breaks by Wayfarer during filming, which sometimes stretched into 6 hours without a break. When filming finally broke, Blake would run to her trailer to breastfeed her baby, and the lack of accommodation for her need to express milk caused her to develop painful mastitis. Justin was so overwhelmed with Blake's look for the movie that he routinely degraded her and body shamed her. This was one of the stories that came out about Justin months ago, and nobody believed Blake or thought that his asking of how much she weighed was not acceptable because he had a back injury and was supposed to pick her up. But the lawsuit claims that it wasn't done with good intentions and that this wasn't the full story because there was no such thing as a scene where he needed to pick Blake up. A few weeks before filming began, and less than 4 months after Miss Lively had given birth to her 4th child, Miss Lively was humiliated to learn that Mr. Baldoni secretly called her fitness trainer without her knowledge or permission and implied that he wanted her to lose weight in 2 weeks. Mr. Baldoni told the trainer that he had asked because he was concerned about having to pick Miss Lively up for a scene for the movie, but there was no such scene. When the writing strike happened, filming was put to a pause. Once that was over, Blake called an emergency meeting with the cast and crew where she brought her husband Ryan Reynolds to come and represent her. In that meeting, Blake said that she would not return to filming unless these things stopped, which Jamie signed on, and kind of proves that everything in the lawsuit is true. If the producer signed on to these things many months before we even got a whiff of the drama, it's proof that there were big issues on set, and allegedly Blake told her people that after this meeting, both boys' behavior improved a lot. The document named Protections for Return to Production lists 10 things that have to be accommodated. 1. There must be an intimacy coordinator when Blake is on set. 2. It must be a closed set during the rehearsal or filming of any scene involving sex or nudity. 3. There is no spontaneous improvisations of any scenes involving physical touching, sex, or nudity, and they must be approved by Blake in the presence of an intimacy coordinator. 4. Physical touching and/or comments about Blake's physical appearance must only be made/done in connection with the character and scene work, not as to Blake personally. 5. There are no discussions of personal experiences with nudity or sex, including ones relating to spouses or others. 6. No one will enter, attempt to enter, interrupt, pressure, or request entrance to Blake's trailer while she is in a state of undress for any reason. This comes after the many times Blake claims that Justin and Jamie would walk in on her and she'd either be topless or breastfeeding. 7. There shall be no rehearsal or filming of any nudity and/or simulated sex without the nudity rider in place. Any footage without it cannot be used. 8. Blake can have a representative of her choosing present for the rest of filming and rehearsing. 9. If Blake is exposed to COVID, she must know about it. 10. There will be no retaliation of any kind against Blake for raising concerns about this conduct described in this letter. Any change in attitude, sarcasm, marginalization, or any negative behavior will be met with immediate action. The list goes on to number 17, but it does just emphasize the other issues the first 10 spoke about. Everything listed in the lawsuit goes hand in hand with what Blake asked for in her return to production meeting, which was months before the drama, and with Jamie signing off on it, they acknowledged that this type of behavior did happen on set, allegedly, because if it didn't happen, they wouldn't have folded so easily. Also, both their behaviors allegedly changed after this meeting. Now, another thing the lawsuit mentions is how the marketing for the movie will go about. Now remember, Blake got immensely trolled for the way she promoted this movie.
It Ends With Us is in theaters now, so grab your friends, wear your florals.
The mama and the baby, just like this film, is a multi-generational film, and this is how we relate it back to It Ends With Us.
So the plot twist was that this type of marketing was what everyone agreed on when it came to talking about the movie. It's an idiotic take for sure, and I think people's reactions to celebrities trying to move past harsh topics with a lighthearted tone will be remembered the next time a movie comes out about a deep topic. But we all blamed Blake for her out of touch with reality commentary, but this was the contractual agreement. Here's what the contract says. It Ends With Us is a big, emotionally complicated story about breaking free from the past and empowering yourself and your future. This movie has every emotion: joy, sadness, pain, and hope. The contract states what to avoid in big letters and says, focus more on Lily's strength and resilience as opposed to describing the film as a story about DV. Avoid describing this film as a love story or love triangle. It's the story of Lily learning to take agency of her future. Avoid talking about this film that makes it feel sad or heavy. It's a story of hope. And avoid talking about the film being a representative of every woman's story. Seeing all the things that they were told to avoid makes Blake's red carpet interviews make much more sense. Don't get me wrong, she doesn't get a full pass for the annoying things she did on the press tour, but she was literally told to slap a band-aid on a heavy topic to avoid the movie being seen as too heavy or sad. The lawsuit really gives us a new insight into how much is being controlled behind closed doors, and that these celebrities giving interviews are often coached on how to talk about things and go about them. It wasn't smart to make the movie seem like some rainbows and cupcakes type of film because that backfired on the lead actress, but I guess it wasn't all Blake's fault as to why she answered questions the way she did. It was something the entire cast agreed on, and Justin was the one who went off script and started talking about DV more than the cast when he realized he fell out with so many of them, allegedly. The contract even tells them what to say if they get hate for the lack of diversity in the cast, which I don't think anyone did, but that's just how detailed these press tours are, and we should keep these things in mind when trying to shift blame on one person when it's more of a group effort. The lawsuit makes note that in the beginning of marketing for the movie, Justin played along with the initial idea of how the movie should be spoken about. The lawsuit says Mr. Baldoni publicly embraced the marketing plan. In early May 2024, Mr. Baldoni appeared at a floral-themed trailer launch event, which included him personally making flower bouquets for influencers, a photo opportunity, and film-branded latte art. As of July 25, 2024, Mr. Baldoni appeared at a pop-up of Lily Bloom's flower shop in Century City, California, where he held a long-stem rose microphone and playfully gave tours of the shop to influencers. In a TikTok interview posted that day, Mr. Baldoni excitedly walks through the pop-ups and states that he will be giving tours all day, every day until August 9. In advance of the release of the film, nearly all cast members chose to appear in public, separately from Mr. Baldoni given his on-set behavior. Mr. Baldoni became concerned that the public would discover that something is much bigger under the surface on information and belief alluding to the complaints lodged by Miss Lively and others. At that point, Mr. Baldoni pivoted away from the film's marketing plan to explain his absence from the rest of the cast. He shifted his focus away from a message of female triumph to instead capitalize on female trauma. After the film's premiere, Mr. Baldoni changed his Instagram profile, canceled lighthearted social media posts, and instructed his team to look for survivors' reactions and support, all in an effort to quickly shift his own public narrative to focus solely on survivors and DV organizations. Miss Jennifer Abel, someone part of his PR team, cautioned Mr. Baldoni that this shift might be too drastic too soon. Still, Mr. Baldoni insisted on a TikTok strategy and that his promotional activities for the film should seek to amplify what he described as survivor content.
This is really crazy.
He says to his team, "Hey, just landed, what is the TikTok strategy? I'd like you guys to start posting me only talking about DV and clips and why this movie is so important." What's even crazier is that Justin told his team to find survivors who can fluff up his image and he'll repost anything he's tagged in that's positive. He says, also, I need you guys to really be on all the stories I'm tagged in. I think you should let all people DM me so you could see people's reactions to the film and I could be reposting everything. These next 36 hours are crucial and we need to be on it, looking at everything, finding the most emotional and touching content from survivors supporting this film and reposting. Need you to be finding survivors sharing their stories and amplifying them on my page and TikTok. Justin was so serious about his narrative that he went as far as proposing to share a video of a woman's birth moment, but his team talked him out of it, warning that it might be perceived as weird and too intimate. See, this is what I was talking about when I said in my first video that Justin looks like he takes his craft too seriously. The cherry on top of that is that he wanted to use all the possible accusations against him and blame them on social awkwardness and impulsive speech. He says, hey guys, one thing I want to do is a Dr. Amen show. Matt, I know you have your feelings about it, but this practice saved my friend Miranda's life a few months ago. With everything going on, I want to have an offensive move showing my neurodivergence and some of the attributes that come with it so that I could start talking about it. Most anything that I've been accused of is social awkwardness and impulsive speech, and I think me sitting down with him and just looking at my brain and talking about some of these things will be helpful for me. This is what it means when a celebrity backs up their defense, because he knew fans would use anything being said about him as, nah, he's just socially awkward. Look at his brain scan. I mean, at this point, fan culture is so pathetic because now the stars are ready to scan their brains and find missing links to excuse their behavior, and they know people will eat it up every single time. The lawsuit states, in June 2024, a month after Mr. Baldoni's first promotional event for the film, Miss Lively and others in the cast fulfilled their first publicity obligation for the film without Mr. Baldoni. On June 20th, 2024, Miss Abel texted Mr. Jamie Heath her concern. We can't have fans starting to guess why JB is left out of the stuff. Likewise, Mr. Baldoni strategized with his publicist Miss Abel about various ways in which they might cover up or explain away his on-set misconduct. Which leads us to the alleged point of Justin Baldoni's smear campaign against Blake Lively. In a confidential statement, we see Justin and his team start to plan the fallback in case anything goes wrong and blame gets pointed at them. The objective is to protect the reputation of Justin, Jamie, and Wayfarer Studios in the lead-up, during, and following the premiere of It Ends With Us. Not only to protect the reputation, but to underscore the achievements and efforts of all three parties. The statement says that there are a few scenarios they should be prepared for in case Blake and her team make her grievances public via a blatant story or subtle leak. Then it says, given she was compromised with the premiere, we feel she will move forward with doing so, which makes me wonder what compromises she needs to make. Then they say they need to get ahead of this narrative, ready to take the air out of any story that Blake and her team put out against them without seeming like the louder antagonizer. They say they'll monitor and flag online content that pushes false narratives, and they will be in touch with the media. They basically make sure to map out everything, including keeping Justin, Jamie, and Wayfarer Studios in headlines that are positive towards them, and they will give ammo to positive stories and fizzle out the ones that are negative. They have everything down to the details of if Blake were to publish a bad story about Justin or Wayfarer Studios post-premiere, and the steps they will take, including planting seeds from early on to push out Justin's narrative. They told Justin to say that he and Blake had their differences, but he has respect for her. That way, in case Blake's team pushes stories that aren't too bad, Justin's team doesn't look aggressive. The contract states that the line, "we had our differences," is vague enough for it to cover points about the film, production, and inspiration. That way we can think they just argued about creative differences and nothing like basic respect. The key messaging points are, make sure to push out Justin Baldoni's stellar reputation among colleagues and industry peers, how Justin has been a long-time activist and advocate of and for women before the Me Too movement began, and basically a whole list of points to use against Blake of all the other inspirational things Justin has done. Now, this isn't to say Justin's entire personality is fake, but I'm making it clear that I don't think every good thing he's ever said was done with bad intentions. His entire persona is to be this inspiring man who's ready to talk about real issues, and in case that's true, I'm not taking it away from him either. All I'm reporting on is what the lawsuit exposes. The statement says that they need to make sure to highlight all the ways they can make Blake look bad, detailing that her need to produce and take over made production members lose their job, and when she wasn't able to get her way, to note that she brought Ryan Reynolds on set. They go as far as to note that they can push moments of Blake's less favorable moments in the industry that spans decades and issues reported on Gossip Girl, The Town, A Simple Favor, and more. Which is insane because suddenly all those issues came about right in the middle of the drama. While we do have text messages that show Justin's team preparing to use things against Blake, their main argument is that Blake's own actions from the past is what pushed people to stop liking her. It had nothing to do with them. Nobody forced her to act any way that she did or make her make the comments she made. But I do want to say that they could have easily pushed those videos to get more press, since his team does talk about how they're in contact with the media. They focus on what they should do in case Blake drops Easter eggs about Justin that cast doubt on him and his narrative, but she'll do so without jeopardizing her potential involvement with the film's sequel. Also, one thing I found interesting is that the lawsuit says that it was Blake and her crew who wanted to do promotion separately without Justin, and that Justin's team didn't want that because then fans on social media would start speculating, which is exactly what happened. I originally thought that Justin himself stepped back, but that wasn't the case. They make note of all the people Blake worked with who may have had issues working with her, and they note Leighton Meester, Anna Kendrick, and Ben Affleck.
Ariana, what are you doing here?
Justin's team also tells him to continue advocating in a positive and respectful way about issues he faced on his podcast, and to open the floor to discuss ways in which imbalances of Hollywood still need to be addressed, and how teams can create safe environments for all cast and production members. This is being done so fans can use his way of talking about these issues and say, just look at him and how much he cares about everyone getting along, when in reality this was him and his team orchestrating the whole thing to combat Blake's stories just in case they come out. Also, it's not that I think Justin is some complete liar, but as previously mentioned, his whole act didn't seem 100% genuine from the start, and there does seem to be a condescending undertone of how he looked at Blake and what she complained about. I mean, he was described as chauvinistic, apparently the most important word in the English dictionary according to some comments from my first video. There was even a whole section about what to do if Ryan flat out defends his wife, and how they can say, he wasn't even on set, so what does he know? This is just another example of major A-listers trying to silence the little guys. The statement ends with that as long as they do this, they'll be able to get ahead of anything Blake's team tries to push that's negative, and the final straw that they could use would be to talk about the weaponization of feminism and how people in Blake's circle like Taylor Swift have been accused of utilizing these tactics to bully into getting what they want. Tea, but not cool. As someone who is pretty vocal about Taylor and her use of weaponizing feminism, I've always defended her against real issues of misogyny, and it sucks that she got thrown in there with Blake, who seems to have gone through something real on set and just got labeled as mean girl tears because the industry loves to hate on women more easily than they hate on men. Which brings us to Justin and his team's inspiration for the takedown of Blake.
Allegedly.
Justin Baldoni used the Selena versus Hailey media war to take down Blake. Because of this, people are starting to take another look at how the media treated Hailey now that the smear campaign lawsuit is out there. Selena's lucky Hailey doesn't sue her next. But before we talk about that insanity, let's talk about Justin and his role in destroying Blake. Justin's team was discussing with each other about how Justin wants to feel like Blake can be buried. The two ladies running this campaign are Melissa Nathan and Jennifer Abel, who were going back and forth with each other saying, we can't write it down to him. We can't write we will destroy her. Imagine if a document saying all the things that he wants ends up in the wrong hands. I can't even wrap my head around what I'm reading. Do you guys know how hard it is for a celebrity to get exposed like this? It's not a common Tuesday, and it only happens when it's celebrity versus celebrity. Do you think a regular crewmate could have done this? Unfortunately, no, and that's the harsh reality of how people get treated in this business. But that's a story for a different time. Jennifer Abel writes to Melissa Nathan, you can, of course, do that, but I do think he needs to know. I'm going to confidentially send you something he's texting me and Jamie on the side, just to arm you before this call. I think you guys need to be tough and show the strength of what you guys can do in these scenarios. He wants to feel like she can be buried. Melissa says, you know we can bury anyone, but I can't write to him. I will. I'll be very tough. Justin then texts Jennifer Abel a screenshot of a thread that went viral during the Hailey and Selena hate train that painted Hailey in a very bad light and said, this is what we would need. Jennifer replies agreeing, saying she spoke to Melissa about what they would need for social/digital and told him to focus on Reddit, TikTok, and Instagram. This gives us an insight into how PR teams work because they will orchestrate an entire scheme, not even caring if it's right or wrong. Just like Melissa Nathan, who says, the majority of socials are so pro-Justin, and I don't even agree with half of them, lol. The texts continuously go back and forth, showing the PR teams bragging about how easily they could shut down stories of HR complaints on set, and it's so disturbing to me that this happened on set for a movie about DV, and having women's voices be heard, his team can take part in laughing at how fast they are able to shut down HR complaints from said women. His team said, "He doesn't realize how lucky he is right now. We need to press him just how lucky. The whispering in the ear, the sexual connotations, like Jesus fucking Christ. Other members feeling uncomfortable watching it. I mean, there is just so much." Now this is all happening mid-August of 2024, by the way. I remember when he first hired Melissa Nathan, people were slightly skeptical, but it was shut down with all the fans saying that it was okay and doesn't mean anything. On August 15, 2024, Melissa Nathan said, "This went so well. It was genius. So okay, we have the 4 majors standing down on HR complaints." Melissa sends Jennifer a piece by Daily Mail that is titled, "Is Blake Lively set to be cancelled? String of hard-to-watch videos that have surfaced following tone-deaf Q&A to promote It Ends With Us could tarnish 36-year-old star's golden Hollywood image for good." Jennifer says, "Wow, you really outdid yourself with this piece." To which Melissa replies back saying, "That's why you hired me, right? I'm the best." Now this whole thing started because Justin and his team had been out to get Blake in fear that Justin's misconduct would eventually be exposed, allegedly. If you pay attention to the dates of some of these screenshots, you'll see that the majority of them have been way before the huge outbreak of drama. This one was sent by Jennifer Abel to Jamie Heath back in January 2024 saying, "Thanks for the call. Confidentially, I'm out to dinner with a friend of 12 plus years who writes for People Magazine, Fox News, In Touch, Us Weekly, and she is fully briefed on the situation and is armed and ready to take the story of Blake weaponizing feminism to any of her outlets the minute we give her the green light. She hates Blake, has heard this story before, and will do anything for us. Just FYI." That was January 2024, 6 months before the drama exploded in August. Hailey versus Selena mirrors Justin versus Blake. Now people are starting to wonder if they did too much to Hailey during the war with Selena, and if it was orchestrated by Selena and her team because companies were weighing in on it, and publications like BuzzFeed were drawing on Hailey's face calling her a mean girl. And if we can see how fast people like Justin's team work, then you can definitely see how fast someone like Selena's team would work, especially since Selena is a much bigger star than Justin Baldoni. Sometimes when the general public randomly hops onto some savior train to help celebrities like Justin or Selena, people are only fighting this hard because it reminds them of themselves. When it came to Selena versus Hailey, people could relate more with Selena. She was on their favorite childhood show, she wasn't a model, she had real-life issues, struggled with confidence and capability, and it spoke volumes to the average person. Everyone knew a Hailey in their life, aka the pretty, seemingly perfect girl who got picked when they didn't. And so the hate for Hailey was personal. Nobody cares to do the research or believe the research that was presented in defense of Hailey. It was all, nope, you were paid by Hailey's team, and not, hey, that's true, the dates for these two things don't add up. Like the whole G tattoo fiasco or the magazine photo, they all had logical explanations. Then you have Selena manipulating you with kindness. She started the whole hate train by making you believe Hailey was making fun of her weight with Kendall when she commented on a video basically saying she agrees with the creator and doesn't let these things drag her down. It got so bad, Hailey said, "I usually don't talk about these things, but we weren't doing anything like that." In this case, social media is always easier on the man, especially a man who cares so much about women and their rights. Similar with Selena, Justin seemed like an easy guy to root for because he spent so much of his time caring about women's issues and bringing important topics to the table. Like Hailey, Blake was a much easier target to hate, especially since her digital footprint was much more messy and unlikable. The reason why there are slight similarities with the Hailey versus Selena and the Justin versus Blake is because it shows you that most people want to root with someone that they most identify with, and it's all about perception, how this person perceives the celebrity. Even though I don't believe it's necessarily a black and white situation, and I don't believe that each party doesn't have valid concerns and truths. When Blake's lawsuit first came out, everyone switched up so fast, defending her from their own words and even starting to blame the interviewer, Kirsty Flaw, for releasing a bad video about Blake in the first place. It's crazy how social media doesn't stick to their own words the moment something new comes out. Some of the hate she got was valid, but I still stand by what I said about that interview. Blake acted disgusting and deserved to get flamed alongside this actress who thought she was A-list, but I already forgot her name. This was reasonable, and celebrities should be held accountable for how they act, especially for work-related things. Even if Kirsty is a terrible interviewer and jumped on the hate, she still needed to be treated with respect, which was the opposite of how they treated her. New updates. Justin recently got stripped of his Voices of Solidarity award, which he got on December 9th. It's an award that honors men for showing courage and compassion and advocating on behalf of women and girls. Oof, you cannot make this up. The statement read, "On December 9th, 2024, we recognize Justin Baldoni with this award. On Saturday, December 21, we learned through news reports about a lawsuit brought by Blake Lively against Mr. Baldoni, his publicist, and others that is disturbing and alleges abhorrent conduct. The communications along Mr. Baldoni and his publicist included in the lawsuit and the PR effort they indicate are alone contrary to the values of vital voices and the spirit of the award." They also told Justin, "Hey, we're taking this back now." And now, on December 24th, Justin's ex-publicist sues his crisis PR team, saying that they tried to take her down too. Justin's ex-publicist is Stephanie Jones, who is a big deal celebrity publicist and is suing alongside Blake, and says that her ex-employee, Jennifer Abel, was assigned to handle Justin's publicity, and Jennifer decided to hire Melissa Nathan, who was a crisis PR specialist, when the It Ends With Us feud was starting to erupt. If you recall, Blake is accusing both Jennifer and Melissa of the smear campaign, but not the boss, who is Stephanie Jones, who is now saying in documents obtained by TMZ that Jennifer and Melissa's real goal was to take down Stephanie's reputation, to take her clients, and enrich themselves upon Jennifer's planned departure from Stephanie Jones's PR firm. Melissa tells Jennifer, "I know, and once you are gone, we will be on accounts together and make really good money and be happy." In the lawsuit, Stephanie states that Jennifer Abel doesn't even like Justin Baldoni. Stephanie shows texts of Jennifer saying, "I can't stand him. He's so pompous. A man's retreat during release? Is he crazy? And being off the grid for the summer because he's just so overworked? Like, calm down. You're not that important and nobody gives a shit how hard your life is." Jennifer also allegedly texted Justin that he needed to take it down a notch. In predicting It Ends With Us might bomb at the box office, she wrote, "He needs to be humbled. When this movie flops, he's going to try to blame every person around him for it." This is an insane story. There's so much that needs to be covered, and I feel like I've already put too much in this video, but I know you guys enjoyed the longer videos, so I hope you enjoyed this. Let's chat in the comments below. Tell me your thoughts about this whole thing and how do you feel about Blake Lively now? Make sure to give this video a like and subscribe. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.